Hey crew, what it do? It's Four Shade Studios, and you've tuned in to KKQ. My, do we have a topic just for you. On mic A, we have Dr. Q. That's me. Grace and mic B, we have Mama Lee.
Howdy.
Rockin' mic C is our girl D.
Hey.
And our Chica Mercy is holding it down for Mike D.
What's up?
So let's keep it classy while your mind run free. So today's show is brought to you by the Milan Firm, a consulting agency that caters to its clientele and assists them in a variety of areas. Allow TMF to be your advisor and consultant for the things you or your company needs. Their contact number is 561-851-2757. And their email is admin@themilanfirm.com. You can also head over to their website, www.themilanfirm.com, and reach out by contact. They'll get back to you within 48 hours, but let them know KKQ sent you so that you can receive a 15% discount off of your services. Just use the code KKQ2302. But crew, give us a minute and we'll be right back to you. Are you an artist? Do you have a talent for introducing people to the creative arts? Well, come on over to Artist's Eye. It's the newest video platform for anyone wanting to share their talent. We welcome all areas. That includes artists, writers, singers, dancers, poets, actors, and even models. If you have a talent you want to share with the world, allow Artist's Eye to add you to their platform and showcase you in a way that you deserve. Visit Artist's Eye at www.artistzeye.us for more information on how to become a member and a collaborator. They're looking forward to your contact. Welcome back to KKQ, and if you're just tuning in, hello to you too. This is the time when we dive into our topic of the day, and this segment is titled Beyond the Camera Lens, where we discuss topics beyond the surface and what the eyes are subjected to only in the news, because you know they don't give you everything. So today's topic is titled, Is Justice Being Served? I'm sure a lot of people have comments about that, but we'll go ahead and start it off. This panel that we have today will introduce you to 4 cases that required us to question if those affected received the justice they deserved. So we'll be right back and we'll start the discussion. So now that we're back, let's chat. It's June 12th, 1:59 a.m. in Orlando, Florida. The music is blaring, the drinks are crazy good, and the dance floor is packed with friends dancing salsa and bachata. The clock ticks to 2 a.m., and he walks out. At 2:02, all hell breaks loose. The sounds of gunshots ring through the air. Whistles of bullet pass by you, and then boom, one hits you dead square in the chest. Suddenly you see red inching down to your feet. You're unsure of what just happened. You are unsure of what you're seeing. You're lost. But soon after, your body hits the ground. Suddenly screams erupt all around you as people begin to fall one by one. There's blood everywhere. And so are the people that you were just celebrating with. What is this? This, my friends, is the case of the Pulse nightclub shooting. This is considered one of the deadliest mass shootings in recent history, with 50 victims lay dead, including the shooter himself. 53 people were injured during this. Why did this happen? Is one of the questions they asked. But the more pressing question is, how will we respond to what just happened? So from 2:02 to 5:15, carnage was everywhere. This location was a Latin spot. This was Latin night, a good time where there were gay people, there were straight people, but everybody just came here to dance and have a good time. An off-duty cop who was working this case was engaged with the shooter. I'm unsure of how this shooter got away from the off-duty cop. And then he came back with more ammunition. I'm confused. So he comes back in the club and he begins shooting again and again. But imagine the people who were on the ground, those who were bleeding to death, those who were hurt and being trampled and had no way to get up. People lay with broken femurs. People lay dead with shots in the head, in their body parts, extremities. And the people who were the survivors just felt pain. They don't know how they became a victim of this type of crime, but they did. It sickens me to know that an individual prepared for something of this magnitude. But to make it a whole lot worse, as the club goers were calling for help, requesting to be removed, this sorry POS, and I'm trying not to use that kind of language because we want to keep it classy, but he had the audacity to call the 911 operator and say, and I quote, "I am the one that did the killing." So when they asked his name, he pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. How is this fair? While people were laying and dying and bleeding, he decided he was going to take his phone and text a friend. He had the time to text a wife while people were dying. The police did everything they could to rescue people. They blew out bathroom walls. They knocked out glass. They even got in and had to pass up people who were dying because they were trying to find the shooter. Imagine being trapped in a bathroom with the same person who's trying to kill you. As people lay dying, he laughs. And to be completely honest, I don't think the people who suffered at the hands of him got the justice they deserved. The police killed him when he tried to come out with the people they were trying to save. I don't think there was justice. These families are hurting. This pain is going to last a long time. But what do we do to fix it? How can we change how people feel? And the one thing that is repeated consistently during this case is that this kid himself was possibly gay, and his family denied him that. They told him he needed to take a wife and make a family. Is this the reason why he did it? No one knows, because we didn't have a chance to hear his side of the story. Not that we wanted it, but having answers could have helped those that did survive. I hope this case makes you think of a lot of things. But the most important thing I want you to think about is we don't all have to look the same. We don't have to be the same. We don't have to have the same sexual orientation. It's nobody's business. But do you think the people that dealt with this got the justice they deserved? I don't. But tell me your thoughts when we end this show. But for now, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back with the panel so you can listen to case number 2. We'll be right back to you. Now that we're back, let me introduce you to our girl D, who's rocking Mike C. She has another great story for you. It's justice being served. D, let me know what it'll be.
Imagine that you inherited something really good, but also was a curse as well. Your in-laws, who also created a rifle during the Civil War that was killed by many people in the Civil War, but also it traveled to your home that you bought, that you're supposed to have peace in, but you can't sleep at night, not even a bit, because you feel the spirits that was killed from a rifle is talking to you and telling you that you need to build in order to stay alive. Not only that, you go through these triumphs of losing your family members along the way. You lose your mother-in-law, you lose your father-in-law, and most of all, you lose your child, your daughter, and your husband. Mm-hmm. And all that's left is you. And you are known as one of the wealthiest women in the world that inherited from your mother-in-law and your husband $561.6 million, and also 50% of the holding of the Winchester Repeating Arm Company.
Wow.
And then at night, when you try to sleep, you will go play this piano to ease your mind, but still you can't get no rest. Mm-hmm. And then in the meaning of that, you have to still keep building off of the guilt. Mm-hmm. That wasn't even your fault. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you're still haunted by it. And then even though later on there was a director who based it off of your story, the character, as these people who builded Rose Red, also they was dealing with deaths in the meantime of building Rose Red. On this end, with Winchester, you already lost your family and you're alone. On Rose Red, it was Ellen Bauer, who also lost someone. Mm. She lost her husband. Her daughter went missing. And the only person that she had to console was her servant. Wow. But she had other servants as well. But they end up missing, disappearing in the house because the house devoured them. It devours the women. Mm-hmm. They go missing, devours the men. You don't never see them again. But Ellen Bauer dealt with a broken heart by her husband. Sarah didn't. Mm-hmm. Sarah was hurt because her husband died of illness. that couldn't be cured. And the same with her daughter, which her daughter's name was Annie. Do I feel that on Rose Red and the Winchester had justice? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Because when you pass on and you die and you pass on, are you going to go to another dimension, or are you going to stay here and deal with the pain, or deal with the sadness, or you deal with the sorrows? Mm-hmm. And neither one of them ever rested and wanted to keep building.
I can believe that. Something of this magnitude could be extremely stressful. So mm-hmm. I could understand why they felt like I'm responsible. Although she inherited quite a bit of money, what did it really do for her? Mentally, she was destroyed. She can't sleep. She can't give the people the justice they deserve. They can't move on because they want something that she cannot give them. So mm-hmm. yeah, she suffered at the hands of the spirits that remained in her home because of things that her husband did or the people before her did. And so I agree with you that sometimes we don't get what we need. And it sounds like she needed a lot in order to let her rest. Okay. Interesting story. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right. Now that our girl D is good on Mike C, we're going to go ahead and roll with Mercy on Mike D. Give me the tea.
Okay, ladies. I have an actual kind of ongoing case here. Imagine being in the 1990s, being hired as a private investigator to look for two people. You're hired by two different families. They don't know each other. So you're looking at your cases and you realize there's a lot of similarities. One, they're young men, physically built the same, almost characteristically the same, and they're gay. So the investigator decides he's going to go and establish communications with the gay community here in, northern Indiana, in Indianapolis, actually. So he establishes communications with the community and realizes that back in the 90s, I guess it was a little bit more frowned upon to be homosexual.
Yes.
So they had like their own form of communications, their own newsletters, their own everything, away from like local and, public eye. So he gets his flyers out there about on a profile that he's come up with based off of just the two guys that he's looking for. So he goes to this nightclub and comes to learn that there's several gay men missing from the area. Not just two, but several. And so that leads him, he puts out some word to get some information, and an informant says that he thinks something similar may have happened to some of his friends. Mm. So he kind of like puts himself out there as bait, this informant. And well, here comes old Herb Baumeister, pretending to, in the club, his name was Brian Smart. Mm. And typical serial killer description, mid to late 30s. Mm-hmm. And Caucasian, married with children, successful businessman. He actually owned 2 Save-A-Lots that was in conjunction with a children's bureau. So, like, they would provide him with teenage employees and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this informant gets to go on he actually gets invited out by this guy. He doesn't know who he is at the time, but he goes out with this guy and he takes him to outside of Indiana. He'd never been out this way. And all he can see when he's pulling into his driveway is the last part of the sign that says farms. But this guy definitely is taking him to some wealthy area. And he takes him to a private pool, wet bar. They're just hanging out, just the 2 of them. So he starts talking about erotic asphyxiation. And while he's holding this garden hose, and the informant's like, show me.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Inviting. Yeah. So he shows him, and I mean, you can use your imagination on that. How? But in the process, he pretends to faint. So when he faints over, Baumeister here is like trying to wake him up, and then just kind of leaves him. But he opens his eyes. He's like, just kidding. He was faking it. And he actually had convinced him, as far as having a good night and stuff, to take him back to the bar. So he does. He does take him to the bar. He didn't know at the time that this guy's like a weirdo, just besides the way he gets off. So then the detective, the private investigator, they get back together and link this information, and the detective tries to go. Well, there was a detective outside of her jurisdiction who was already kind of on a similar trail, so they got together, they start working together, and they're able to convince him to do a search of the area to try to find who has something farms in their name. So here they find 16 acres of 60% wooded area called Fox Hollow Farm, which was the resident of Baumeister and his family. While she would be away visiting family in Lake Wawasee, he would be off luring men to his home, and young boys to his home, doing whatever, and just leaving their bodies out in his wooded area. Didn't even have the courtesy to bury them. He would just leave them for the animals to do as they pleased.
Oh, wow.
So they were unable to initially to get a search of the property. But it wasn't until the victim placed Baumeister back at the bar as the person they were looking for that they got the search. And they were able to find and identify 11 bodies. But there are thousands of bone to this day. Chips, fragments, teeth. The actual neighbor, the current resident, invited people, the Indiana Search and Rescue, with their dogs to come and search the property because they were still finding pieces, not intentionally looking and stuff, but when they find them, they take them to the university because they knew it was a crime scene. Mm-hmm. And so here's 11 identified bodies, but there's thousands and thousands of bones. So technology back then sucked. And somebody today is now launching DNA samples as of December. They've stepped forward asking, if you know anybody or were concerned about anybody missing in the 80s and 90s. There's hotlines that can provide that information if you like. But there was no justice because while everything's getting hot on old Herb here, he decides he's going to take off to Canada. And while he's over there, he is seen by some Canadian officers. And they're like, well, what are you doing? And apparently he was just taking a nap because he's passing through. But they noticed videotapes and boxes of videotapes and stuff in his vehicle. But they didn't think anything of it. Later on, they find his body. He killed himself. Gunshot to the head with a 4-page letter saying nothing about his victims or where they are, who they could have been. Just, he was going to eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich because that's what he liked. And sorry to his family for not being a good dad, I guess. And shot himself. But when they found his body, there were no videotapes. So when they were finally fully investigated the property and found the pool and all the wet bar, they found a camera, but no videotapes.
Oh, wow.
So there's unidentified bodies still. And is there justice? No. Because some families have no idea what happened to their sons, their uncles, who have their family members. So, no, there was no justice by him taking his own life before meeting any kind of hearing or, anything.
So he basically robbed them of not just their family members, but robbed them of their opportunity to see him suffer the way he made other people suffer. And why is it always the white male who's successful with the family and married and handsome? Why does the average serial killer looks like this? Do we genuinely believe that these people are so entitled that we wouldn't think they're the ones that are killing folks? I mean, you got to think of cases like Ted Bundy, What? What were you doing to people? It's truly unbelievable to know that people are robbed of their opportunities to see justice being served. This guy did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. He didn't care about those people, but they were somebody special to these families. Thank you so much, Mercy. This was an interesting case for sure. Sad.
I'm interested in knowing what happened to the videotape. Did you find any evidence anywhere that he destroyed them? Was there any burned plastic? It's very interesting to me.
Just from what they said of the tapes was just that the officer who confronted him about sleeping in his vehicle saw there were tapes in his vehicle, but when they like I said, he didn't put two and two together. When they did find his body, there were no longer any tapes, so they have no idea. Somewhere in Canada, disposed of in the water, burnt. Who knows?
Well, obviously he had a level of narcissism about himself to videotape all of his deeds or misdeeds.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
It is.
And that will continue to be an ongoing case.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people still out there searching for a son or a nephew or a brother that they've not heard from in 25 or 30 years, and they could very well have remains out there on that farmland. I'm going to tell you one thing. I wouldn't be living out there. Now, you talk about cursed earth. There's just no way I could live in that area.
Correct.
Of course not.
And if you are in the listening area of Hamilton County, you can contact the Hamilton County Coroner's Office at 317-770-4415. They are still trying to help families identify missing people.
I think that's great. That's great that you shared that, because there may be someone out here listening who has questions, who who is concerned about where their family member may be. So that's so awesome that information was saved.
That is how it was reopened, the investigation back in December. Mm-hmm. That is how it was reopened. Yeah.
Wow.
There are movies about Herbert Baumeister. There's a couple different. The property's also on some like Ghost Adventures and stuff like that. So there are suspected paranormal out there as well, due to all the activity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can understand why. I mean, you kill all these people. They're not resting because they didn't get a chance to tell their families bye. These people may have had children. They didn't get a chance to tell their children that they love them. It's just, immediately and out of nowhere, their life is just snatched from them. And that's not fair. And so I would think people would want to definitely haunt somebody like that. Even their family members. I can't imagine the pain that people have dealt with. All right. Excellent case to discuss. And I agree with you. Yeah, justice wasn't served because he took the easy way out. It's funny that they can take the time to plan a murder and kill people, but you can't face the consequences. Sad. All right, Mama Lee on Mike B. Tell me what it'll be.
Well, I'm sort of going to give a history lesson. And I'm going to talk about Emmett Till today. And that is an all-encompassing story. That is a race crime. It is a hate crime. It is a Jim Crow era South crime. And it's something that we continue to learn from today. Emmett Till was a young 14-year-old African-American male born and raised in Chicago. But as a lot of the African-American families that relocated to Chicago in the 1950s, his family was from Mississippi. And so this particular summer in early August, his mother put him on a train. He came to Mississippi to spend part of the summer vacation with his great uncle. Emmett walked into a grocery store. And there's a lot of dispute about what happened in that store. But a young woman working there, 21-year-old, married, her husband owned the store, her family store. She said at the time that he flirted with her, he was offensive with her, and that he possibly tried to touch her. Now, the unwritten rule of conduct for any black male in the 1950s in Mississippi was that you do not have any contact with the white female.
Yes.
So a couple of nights later, this woman's husband and his half-brother went to the great uncle's house. They abducted Emmett. They took him out into the woods. They beat him. They mutilated him. They lynched him, and they shot him in the head. And to add insult, they threw him into the river and walked away. 3 or 4 days later, his bloated body on the back. When I say this is an all-encompassing story, we have a mother. He brought him back to Chicago for burial, but she made the decision to have an open coffin so that people would see what was done to her son. Meanwhile, back in Mississippi, less than a month later, they were ready for trial. An all-white jury acquitted and found the husband and his half-brother not guilty of any crime whatsoever. Obviously, Emmett did everything to himself.
Right.
Of course, I'm being a smart aleck when I say that. But they were found not guilty by this all-white jury. A year later, these two men have been interviewed for Time to Look magazine, where they admitted to the killing and gave in detail everything that they did to that child in the commission of his death. But because our Constitution allows for double jeopardy, they could not be retried. Once you are acquitted of a crime in this nation, you cannot be tried for it again.
Correct.
And so we have the mother story with Emmett. We have a story of double jeopardy for the legal system. The laws were upheld, but it wasn't right. But we're looking at 1955 in the South. Things were not right. If that same thing occurred today, I would hope that there would be a different outcome. But the problem is, if we do not look at our history and learn from it, we are doomed to continue to fail. Because every case that the three of you have talked about, it is about race. It is about our ethnicity. It is about your lifestyle. It's about hate. Every one of these cases is about hate. We continue to do the same thing, live through the same thing over and over again. And I don't know when we are going to learn from our mistakes.
They won't.
When will we learn how to rein in others' hate? Emmett Till has become posthumously a great civil rights icon. I mean, there's always something new to the story, whether it's a new movie. There's a recent movie out that Whoopi Goldberg stars in and produced. There are documentaries. There are stories constantly in the news about his memorial site being vandalized by people with hate in their heart. Recently, the woman that he, as they say, offended. Reportedly offended. She has said that, that never happened. It never happened. But the state's made a decision not to make, there's no charges to be brought against her.
Right.
It just seems like there's always information coming out about Emmett Till. I have to wonder, not only as a mother, but just as a human being, had he been allowed to live, what kind of man he would have become. But there are so many people who are killed senselessly that we can say the same thing about. Every one of the people killed in the Pulse nightclub, everyone killed and buried on that farm. What did a higher being have planned for their life, or was it so that we would learn something? Unfortunately, I don't think we're learning anything. I don't know what the answer to any of this is, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of stories just like it that you could delve into every day and never come up with an answer. Q at Earth, the shooter at the Pulse nightclub was killed by police. And so, we'll never know what he was thinking. Well, we wouldn't have known what he was thinking anyway. There are a lot of shooters that are in custody in other cases, and they're never going to tell us what they were thinking.
Not at all.
They're never going to answer for it. So I don't know what the starting point is. I don't know where we're supposed to start and move on from. Do you ladies what are your thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Dre. Let me know what you're thinking.
What I'm thinking is the same that Mama Lee would think. Like, will it ever stop? Like, how did it just get so out of control with this hate crime? Like, how did it start? Is it really because we don't look the same? Really?
And that's sad.
Or is it because we don't want to see each other be successful? Or is it because of a game that's being played of statistics. Who can take out who the most?
You know, it's sad. I don't understand. Like, okay, so don't get me wrong. I believe in my rights, right? And so the Second Amendment tells me that I can protect myself, right? But when you're intentionally taking a gun and go and kill people, like, you've overstepped those boundaries. And so my thing is, I don't understand how we continually, and I'm not saying that our government is not doing anything. They're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. And so I believe in my right to protect myself. I really do. And so I wouldn't go around and say, you can't have a gun, you can't have a gun, you can't. But when people are purchasing multiple guns, and then they're taking those same guns that they were just issued a week ago and going kill somebody, it really makes you think, are we doing the right thing by allowing people to purchase guns? So sometimes
if someone wants a gun, they're going to get a gun. Mm-hmm. I am for strict gun laws. Mm-hmm. I am against these gun shows where you can go in and buy 20 automatic assault rifles and all the ammunition that your van will hold. Uh-huh. There should be rules in place, but at the end of the day, if someone wants a weapon, they're going to find a weapon. Yeah. They're going to find a way. If they are so deep into their psychosis of I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow my manifesto, I'm going to grab all the attention I can, they're going to find a way to do it.
Absolutely.
The question then becomes, where do we start looking to prevent these people from getting to that point?
Yes.
And are there enough? There's not enough mental health professionals or professional caregivers to be able to recognize all of them.
To diagnose.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. I think mental health is a huge issue we have in this country, and we're not giving people what they need. People go every day without being placed in a category of, oh no, this person is sick like this person is sick. And then what also drives me sometimes is the fact that people use mental health to get out of crimes that they have committed. You've killed multiple people. I don't think my government should be placing you in a hospital to be watched. You deserve to be punished like everybody else. So if you're going to be a mass shooter, go to prison and get the medical care you need there for your mental health issues. I don't think it's fair that you get to go to a hospital and hang out in there for 30 years. Because what happens when they say, oh, this person is fine? What do? Do we just let you go? We put you out on the street. I don't think that's fair.
Wouldn't they go back and be like, now they're sane or fit for a hearing?
That's a good question.
In some cases?
In some cases they do. But in other cases, no. They stay in a mental health hospital for 10 years. And then now that we have your behavior under control, we're going to put you out in the real world, see how you do. Well, think of that family. Do they feel like that is justice to them? It's not fair.
It wouldn't be justice for me. I'm not going to speak for every family in America, but for me personally, no, it would not be considered justice. I think ethically, then you have to look within yourselves as the surviving members of the victim and make the decision of whether you can forgive.
Yeah.
But forgiveness does not make you forget.
Absolutely.
And I think anything that will stay forever, and it will stay for generations, because the stories will be handed down from generation to generation. So once a crime of hate is committed against a family, they are forever changed. And I think that probably once a case comes to a completion, we forget about those victims' families.
Yeah.
And some of them are very strong, and they go before Congress, and they work on legislation, and they keep the issue at the forefront. And others go home and they draw the blinds, and they never leave their homes again. It's just so many families in this country have been affected, and they are no longer what they were. I don't know what the answer is. Going all the way back to the beginning of the topic, I don't know what the answer is to any of this.
Right.
And also,
you have to wonder, when will my family be affected?
When will my family be affected by something like this? And then the question is, what do we do? How can we change the situation? What were you going to say?
Dre, I talked over you. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say this too, not trying to throw off the subject. Sometimes it can happen in your own family.
Yeah.
When you dealt with the mind frame, as in when you deal with being picked on, being talked about, being put down, basically saying from a family that you only know calls you a black sheep, you're not this, you're slow, you're stupid. And when they constantly say this to you, you think it in your mind like, oh my God, this must be wrong with me. And then this will make someone either act on something or basically try to run away.
Yeah.
And that's a serious trauma.
Yeah. It really is. Because now...
That goes back to school shootings. So many school shooters, you will see that they were bullied at school. There are a lot of kids bullied at school who never come and shoot half their classmates and their teachers.
Exactly.
Or a teacher did something to them, and they're taking out on everybody else.
Right. So then you just have your handful who do not react to a situation well, and they make history by it being the biggest school shooting ever. Every time there's a school shooting, it ends up being bigger than before. Because again, I don't know the answer.
Do you feel that the people that are accused of all these acts, like, did they get the justice they were looking for doing all this stuff? Like, what was so bad in their life that this is what it led to? Like, was this justice enough for what they suffered or what they're going through?
Now that is a very good question. That is a very good question.
Do they feel justified in their actions? I don't know. I've not thought of it from that angle.
Me either. Because everything is about the victim.
It should be.
Yeah. And so we never think about what is the perpetrator getting out of this. Besides those who are just sick. What does a shooter get out of killing 49 people in a nightclub? Like, what did somebody in your life do to you so bad that you had to take this out on innocent bystanders who did not even know you?
Right.
So I think you bring a very good question up, Mercy. And so it's sad to think that, and honestly, we probably don't even care whether they got what they wanted out of it.
I don't. I really don't, but it is a thought.
Yeah, we probably don't care what they got out of it. They are not our concern. It's the people who got affected by that. And I have to think about in the case of the shooting with the Pulse nightclub. I mean, this guy, he has the audacity to laugh as people are laying there dying. What are you getting out of this? Then you call, hey, honey, I'm not going to be home tonight. You text your wife, hey, oh, hey, buddy, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How are you? Where do you get off? And then threaten the cops. Oh, don't come in. I'm going to blow you up. I have bombs outside in cars. I have a bomb on my vest. There are people dying next to you. And all you could think about is, who else can I shoot? Wait, this one is on the ground dead already. Let me shoot him again. I think about that, And so the other thing too, like in this case, there was also some positive gain out of this, because all of those people who took the time to give blood, that made the difference in how these people survived. There was one person who needed 44 packets of blood. That's 44 people. You had to save your life for one person who tried to destroy it. So there are so many things to consider when we look at cases like this. And yes, somebody could say, oh, well, the person who did the crime, he was going through X, Y, and Z. We don't care what he's going through. He didn't need to take it out on other people. There are ways to get help.
Violence is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Destruction, killing something, taking life of something to make up for what you're feeling, it is not the answer, regardless.
Yeah, I agree. And so today was a serious topic. We really wanted to touch on things that are close to home. Because do we have a government that we believe is doing their best? Or do we have a government who's just kind of treading the water like the rest of us? So we're curious to know how you guys feel or what you think. Which case touched you the most? And why did it touch you? Those are the things that we are curious about. So you can always reach out to us. You can listen to this podcast and say, hey, there's something that I want to do. I want to give blood. I want to go see this stuff that happened with the Winchester home. I want to go and have my DNA turned in so I could see if any of the people that were killed by, Herb here, was related to me. There are so many things that we as individuals can do for ourselves and what we can do for those families who are suffering. Emmett Till's mother did something absolutely amazing. By her putting her son on display like that, it told a story. And that was a story of pain, of hurt. She had to trust what she was doing would be looked at as something interior, something that it was a pain that she felt like she had to get out, but she didn't want to hide it from the world. And I love that she allowed the world to suffer with her. And it's sad that we had to suffer. It's sad that her son was taken from her at an early age for something he did not even do. And all these many years later, nobody gets in trouble for it. Why is that? So I'm going to pass it around to the panel and allow them to say their last words before we cut out of here. Because this was something deep today. And we hope you guys were really intrigued by what we discussed. And we really hope to get y'all involved. Mama Leo, Mike B, tell me what it'll be.
Well, I just want to point out that as John Lewis, the late great John Lewis, always said, if you see something, something. If you see something that you're not comfortable with, you're uncertain about, you have questions about, find someone you trust to share that with. Whether that's a school teacher, school counselor, Sunday school teacher, whoever, or a family member. If you're feeling uncomfortable about someone and their actions, and you don't want to speak to the police, find someone you trust, and let someone know that you may have some concerns. I think maybe some of the crime that is committed, the violence that is committed, could be stopped if someone who sees something. So, and also if you are having any mental health, strange thoughts, things that you know are wrong, reach out. There are people available to you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Mike C. Hey, Dre, tell me what it'll be.
I would say always be cautious of your surroundings. I would say be cautious, and then also, like Mama Lee said, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up about what's going on with yourself. And don't be afraid to speak out to, family that you trust. And that you don't have to feel guilty about anything that had nothing to do with you. Don't carry on that burden of guilt.
Yeah.
If it didn't have nothing to do with you, because it will tamper with your spirit and it will destroy you if you let it.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was really good.
Thank you.
Mercy. Mike D, tell me your tea.
All right. I just want to tell everybody out there to pretty much be more, like we said, be more aware of your surroundings. Old Herb was taking people from the bars, picking them up, so you never know who you're talking to. You really don't. You want to be out there having fun and whatnot, but still try to be aware, stay with the group. Always try to have somebody that's not drinking or any type of way inebriated, even though it's hard. Just take care of each other. And yes, they always speak out if you see something going on. You see a lady struggling with the purse, don't sit there and get your phone out to be famous on social media. Do something and help that person, because you're capable of it, more than just the phone. But other than that, y'all just stay safe out there, and yeah, keep it classy.
Good point. And so I will have to piggyback off of what Mercy said. If you're an individual and you're out alone, there is nothing wrong with that. However, make sure that you're okay. Don't put yourself in a situation to where you can't get out of it. And so, like she said, take care of yourself. Because at the end of the day, we have people that rely on us, that trust us, that look to us. And so we want to put it out there for the last time. Stay safe, be aware, and speak up. So that's what we have for today. We hope you guys enjoy the podcast. This panel is amazing. So come back and see us in 2 weeks. We'll be here. KKQ out. Style. Bold. Unique. Intriguing. House of Q Dressame is an exclusive designer fashion brand with a passion to provide affordable, high-quality garments to populations of all ethnicities, generations, and body shapes. Do you desire to wear something unique, something bold, even something lavish? Then seek out Q Dressame. This company is elegant and affordable, with a desire to be at the forefront of body-positive empowerment. Their designs are one of a kind, and you won't find them anywhere else. House of Q Dressame. Here they come. Do you desire personal protection? Are you interested in a dynamic duo that offers male and female guidance? Looking to upgrade your security? Well, Exclusive Personal Protection Services, EPS, it's where your search ends. Not only do they provide consulting needs, they train in the state-of-the-art facilities to stay prepared for any security issue. They offer, but definitely not limited to, private security, chauffeur services, and crowd control. Whatever the occasion, they can serve courageously and with class and dignity. Contact them today at exclus82@exclusiveprotection.org. That's EXCLUS82@exclusiveprotection.org. Or call at 1-561-851-2757.